Sick. Well, Blackcatdead is going to join us in a moment. He's in Indonesia, so he's kind of just waking up and getting into his day. I think it's not even. I think it's like 4 a.m. for him over there. So
yeah.
Well, I'll just explain as Keep It Lunatic kind of asked. I'll just explain how the format kind of works. All right. So we got 3 artists this week. So essentially, we're just gonna every artist is about half an hour to 45 minutes to kind of we'll talk about them and do them. We'll go to each artist and then we kind of open the floor up and then kind of discuss things together. That's basically how it rolls. So it kind of works out. Blackcatdead will probably join us and we'll leave him till last so we can get through Cinn and keep it lunatic. But yeah, that's how it rolls. Sick. Okay, well let's get cracking, shall we? Wicked. Well, thanks people in the audience, and thank you, of course, the artists and the amazing talented people that come here for this chat. This is Final Export. This is episode 18 with Cinn, Blackcatdead, and Keep It Lunatic. So yeah, each week each bi-weekly we meet up and we basically just get artists together to make some friends and chat art. In amongst all the DeFi degen bullshit, we just like to talk creativity, yeah. So without further ado, we'll just jump into it. Cinn, I think we'll start with you. So I'm going to post a bunch of her links in the chat room for those listening, and then I've got a bunch of her artwork that I'm going to kind of drop as Cinn talks away. But
oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah. So basically, so Cinn has told me she works with Procreate and Photoshop mainly. Occasionally use of Pixakai and Illustrator. So I'm assuming she does her pixel artwork in Pixakai.
Yeah, Pixaki is
Pixaki.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
It's a like a pixel animation app for an iPad. If you're doing any
that's
pixel
awesome.
animation, I really recommend it. It's not an expensive app to buy.
Okay.
And it just makes animating with pixels really smooth.
Fucking oath. I downloaded Asprite the other day. I was hanging out. Yeah, I was hanging out in the SE Discord, and a couple of people were working in it. I was like, "What the hell is this?" And so I downloaded that. So I think I might have to do that because I don't think it's iPad friendly, and I definitely live on the iPad as well.
Yeah.
So Cinn says here, yeah, she spends most of her days on an iPad. She occasionally paints on canvas and enjoys watercolors and pens. So a traditional artist at heart. Her genre is digital art. That's what she's kind of working with at the moment, and pixel art. But she's starting to breach out from there. She keeps it loose, and she doesn't like to, stick into any boxes and all that. So she's bending and morphing as good artists do. She is the creator of Pop Pussies, and she currently has a collection of 375 that have already been minted and given to holders. That's Pop Pussies, pop. The main focus for this is the art is for it's all being currently revealed. They're one-of-one pieces. After that, she's working with the Bite Masons crew on the Cursed Circus project. I'm also working on that project, so that's pretty rad.
Yeah.
And then she has some other. Obviously, there's a very, very long journey for Cinn to go. She's at the very beginning. She has other projects on the go, but unfortunately, they're not ready to be revealed. So, without further ado, Cinn. Hello, how you doing?
Hi.
I love to begin with the first question, which is, where the hell did you come from? Where did your love for art, I'd love to talk about your watercolors and your pens and your time that you spend on canvas. Then you got the iPad. Where did the dive into the NFT scene kind of happen? So if you can kind of give us a journey of where you've come from as an artist and how you ended up in this ridiculous scene.
Sure. So I've always been super creative. Always growing up, we were always in my house, we were painting, we were drawing, we had a wall of art. It was always really encouraged to just be creative and to let your creative juices flow. And so growing up, I always had numerous art books and all that kind of stuff. And as I got older, I was like, I'm not going to university. I'm going to find my own path. So I didn't go to uni, and I just started working. and I'd do anything and everything. And things really like changed for me one day when I was working in like retail, and I quit. I said, I'm done. My boss was like really mean, and I was like, I'm leaving. And I called my dad. I'm walking away as I've just quit, and I call my dad, and I'm crying. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know how I'm gonna pay my bills, but I couldn't be there anymore. And he's like, how would you like to work in film and TV? And I was like, are you kidding? More than anything, that would be a dream, because I'd always been in acting and all that kind of stuff. And so he found me a job in film and TV. And that's what I did for the next like 3 to 4 years on and off. And that was truly like where I grew the most as an artist. Like it pushes your boundaries. It forces you to find new solutions to problems you didn't even know existed. And it basically causes you to like flex all your creative muscles. And I loved doing that for a time. And at the beginning, last year, I was working in film full time. It was really long hours. I was doing like 14-hour days. I was working away from home. And I loved it, but in the back of my head, I'm going, I don't know if I want to keep doing this. I think I need to do something else maybe. And it's funny, all my like friends around me here were actually getting into like the crypto and DeFi space in a major way. And I've got someone going like, why don't you do NFTs? Why don't you do NFTs? And I'm going, I'd love to. And so as I was finishing up my last job on film, I was like planning. I'm going, okay, what is going to be my artist name? Like, how am I going to start? And then like the last couple weeks of the job finishing up, I was like, I need to hit the ground running. I want to finish, and I want to like have a collection like the same day kind of thing. So my idea was I was going to do a collection for my coworkers. So when you like leave a film job, you get people that you enjoyed working with, like a little gift, like a wrap gift. So I was like, I don't want to spend any money on people. I'll make them an NFT. So I made 50 pop pussies that are on PaintSwap. They're like the original pop pussies, I guess. And I started like making them to look like my coworkers, and they were named after my coworkers. And I ended up with like all these cats that were all white and blonde, because all my coworkers ended up looking the same when you put them in a 34-bit cat. So I was like, how can I fix this? And you also, when you're messing with like skin colors, I find people get funny. So it's like, you know what? I'm just going to make them crazy pop colors. And that's where the name came from as well, pop pussies. And I printed them all out. I gave them to my coworkers. And some people looked at me like, what the fuck is this? And so I like tried my best to explain it. And I have like an email chains that are still going with people where I'm like, okay, so to get a wallet, you go here. And then they're like, how do I send you my wallet address? Like, it's shocking, like how like 99% of people had no clue what I was trying to give them and how to go about getting that. And so only about like 40% of my coworkers actually got a pop pussy in the end, because they didn't reply to the emails, they didn't send me a wallet address. So I started giving them away. I went, okay, I'll give them away. And it's how the Bite Masons ended up with a heap of them, because I'm like friends with them, and they saw them and they were like, can we have one? And I was like, yeah, they were gifts, here you go. And then all of a sudden more people wanted them, and it was just this like wave of like positive energy of people going, wow, these are really cool, I want one too. So I was just like, okay, I'm not gonna, try something else because this seems to be like a good place to start. I'm gonna make a bigger collection, and I'm gonna do that, which is where pop pussies pop comes into play. And at the same time, like I finished a job in film in February. And that weekend, I had my first collection of 50 on Paint Swap, and like was sending them to people. And I've just been working nonstop since. Like, I don't take days off anymore because I don't need to, because I'm just like having the best time. Honestly, it like I have to pinch myself like every day to be like, wow, I get to like draw and create and like spend time with all these really fun people in the community that are all here to like support one another. And yeah, it's been not that long so far, but it's been incredibly fun, and I feel like I learn something new every day. Yeah, it's
insane. It's probably one of the most organic or authentic stories of introduction that I've heard. Like, in terms of like, it starts as just kind of a gift and a joke. Do you know what? The only the one artist that I can correlate your introduction story is actually Tombheads. I'm not sure if you know about Tombheads, but his whole collection began as gifts as well to the Tomb 4 community.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just gifts and it was just jokes, and he was just playing around, and then Gab9 reached out to him and did the exact same thing. He was like, I really actually like these should be a collection. And then he just very organically became his collection, so it all began as gifts. That's fucking awesome. Can you talk about like what you were doing well before, more as like a child, and like where this like love of art and love of you say like painting and watercolors and maybe the stuff that obviously you would never intend it to become like a commodity or something you would sell, but can you talk about like where that love began?
Yeah, well, my mom tried to homeschool me when I was a kid, and it turned out that I was very dyslexic. So homeschooling me was a huge challenge, as you can imagine. So we did a lot of art and craft activities instead of like your more typical school life activities. And we'd bring in, we'd learn about deep sea creatures. And so we'd do a day like drawing deep sea creatures while she'd like talk to me about the different creatures. And so like that was like my introduction to learning and school and all that. And it was like those memories from when I'm youngest are like the most vivid, because like there was so much love and care put into every one of those lessons. And like I still remember the drawings of like deep sea creatures especially really stuck with me, like sea cucumbers and starfish and all that. But like it was really interesting. I guess another key part is that I like once I got a little bit older, we actually joined like a spiritual cult, and that really shaped a lot of my experiences as well. And the cult had like its own school, and I personally didn't go, but they had a heavy I guess influence on like what I did do when I was growing up. And that's like lots of art, lots of time spent with like animals, horses especially. And like obviously now like I mostly draw like animals, cats mainly. And like I have a cat who is my inspiration. He's the best. But I have a huge love for animals, and that's majorly influenced like my art and how I see the world. But like growing up in like such a different environment, like I'm sure not many kids would have the experience like they get on the school bus and like other kids ask them like if their cult sacrifices children. Like it really gives me like this different perspective to kind of like view the world through. And yeah,
that's really interesting.
Yeah.
So like so information and learning for you, since as long as you know, has been visual, right?
Yeah,
it's super interesting. And like from for such a formative time in your life. It's almost like set you up. Like there's no way you would approach any situation without being able to like, or having to see it all visually, because it's kind of like ingrained in you.
Yeah. And then I from going from like basic watercolor, like I always like to like hand make people's birthday cards, and like I like to make watercolor birthday cards because they're kind of like fun and you don't really have to stick in the lines very much. And then like I try and do acrylic on canvas, but I'm so used to having the power of layers, and I'm very impatient when it comes to like drying. So I
Have you ever tried oil paints?
Yes. And I remember sitting there and being like, when does it dry?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't dry.
Maybe in like a month or two.
You try years, yeah.
And so I rarely finish them if it's like a physical on a canvas, just because I'm not very patient, and like digital tech has made us so spoiled. Like I can make a piece that can look like it's an oil painting, but it's definitely not, in like way less time than it would take to do an actual oil painting.
Yeah, and so what has that done for your appreciation of oil paints? Right, like oil paintings, like I'm the exact same. I've only probably done like 2 or 3 fully finished oil paintings, because the exact same reason. It's like, fuck that. There's so much time involved in. It's so goddamn involved. But then when I go to the exhibitions and when I go see Renaissance paintings, I just stand there for minutes and just look at this thing like, holy shit, you know.
Yeah, I have a huge appreciation for anyone, especially in the space that is doing physicals, and like painting a physical. Like they rock up to the auction and they've painted a physical, and I'm just like, my mind is blown. You know, I'd love to do that at some point. I think like get back to the roots and like, but you know, very time consuming.
So, can you talk a bit about your kind of separation from the film and TV side of things, and then like maybe, you know, this recent introduction into the space? Like, do you see yourself kind of going back to a lot of these moments of experience and maybe integrating this stuff, or have you more so kind of found, like, you feel like you've found this like kind of humble space of just kind of doing whatever the hell you want?
Yeah, I mean, yes, to the second part of that. It has been like so liberating to be like, you know what, I'm gonna make this, and there's no one else that can say no, don't make it that way. Oh, I want the colors to be slightly more like this. Oh, you know, like I think that should be more rounded. And like it's both like a blessing and a curse, because some days you're just like, I wish someone would tell me how it's supposed to be. And then other days you're like, I'm doing my thing, like I'm stretching my wings. Film and TV was like such an incredible experience, and you can tell I've used past tense there because I've like extradited my mental self from who I was when I was doing that. The last job I had was especially like a very high growth time for me, and like I work in the art department, obviously, so it's very highly creative, high pressure, and you end up working on these like really big American productions, where like it's not about how great it is, it's not about like the best it can be, it's about like making money at the end of the day. And like as a creative, like I always feel like that's important, but kind of should be secondary to your art. Like, and like this last job I had was extremely like expansive in that I was the assistant art director, and we didn't have an art director, so I had to like step up in a major way and like fill in some art director shoes that I was like not really ready to fill. And but what that did was that just so many layers of growth, and like I learned a lot about color and the use of color, which you can see I've implemented in my art now. And my boss, the production designer, was like very strict and very difficult to work with. And so there was no room for mistakes. And that really like allowed me to like channel my energy. Like she'd leave me alone and I'd be like secretly drawing my pop pussies and like waiting until I could like release them myself at the end of the job. And yeah, I don't think I'd probably go back if I got invited and it like wasn't huge distances and it was like an Australian film or something a bit smaller. I'd probably consider going back for a little while, but it would have to be a sweet deal because I don't know if they can beat like being able to like get up every day and just like create things. And like what I've found really fun is actually like the writing side of this. Like when I started, I never expected to actually be like writing stuff, but when I was a teenager I did want to be a writer and I did write short novels. And so when when I was looking at doing Pop Pussies Pop Pop, I was kind of like asking like the guys that I was working with, like Mace Popper, I'm going, what can I do to make sure that this is successful? Because like obviously I'm putting my heart and soul into this, I want it to work. And he was like, people love lore, like you're gonna be successful if you can like hit them with some lore. And I was like, you know what, definitely do that. And I in fact would love doing that. And so the Pop Pussies, I broke them up into clans. Each clan is like a different color palette. And so then I wrote lore about every clan, and you can then go into my Discord and you can join your clan. You step into like this little fairy ring and you react to join your clan. And it's just like such a small thing, but to me that was like so important. And now I can like continue this, like I've created a universe at this point, right? It's like the Pop Pussies universe, and I can build these stories and these like points that like bring people in and like allow me to share more than just the art, but also like a whole storyline. And I've got things in the works like I want like a tapestry of like the history of the Pop Pussies, and I also want like a what do you call it? A map. Sorry, mental blank. Mm-hmm. Like when you open a fantasy book, and on the first couple pages there's a like a map of the world. Like I really want to like do that, but like on a global scale. So and I'll have like all the clans placed on the map. So you'll be like, oh, okay, there's the Pussy Clan, and they're down on this field over here, and you've got a Candy Mountain, and they're hidden away on this like mountain. And like being able to like share and create stories and create art, and then go to platforms like Twitter and Discord and have people like read them and interact with them, like that's special to me.
I love it. I think it's amazing, and it kind of answers my next question. My next question was going to be like, where do you see taking this, and like where do you really dream for this to go? But it seems like that opening up this universe of ideas and this universe of characters is kind of where you want to go. I guess I want to steer that maybe more artistically and like more aesthetically. Like what's the next step for you? Like where do you see your next stage of growth as a visual artist?
I think I'll probably end up going down a more abstract route. I obviously have come to the stage of these like big, bright, bold colors and lots of like poppy kind of inspirations, and like I love doing all that, and I think I won't move too far away from it, but I definitely feel myself drawn to kind of like the last piece you posted. That's like my most recent piece, and that is kind of like maybe a bit closer to where I'll try and like go down. I'd love to do more like abstract art and like still keeping all my crazy colors and all of that, but just like, yeah, I want to create these insane characters that are all part of the same universe, and you'll be able to like go and read a story about it, and maybe even I have plans to like get the community more involved and reward holders. I'd love to have like continuous stories about the pop pussies that the people that hold them can like participate in and add to. We did like a little lore competition a few weeks ago where we put up a clan that had no description, and we said, okay, like if you can write some lore, then I'll give you a pop pussy. And runners up all got some FTM, and it was really fun, and it was such a joy to like read everyone's like
creativity
and yeah, and I definitely am keen to like do more of that and get more involved in the community and find new fun creative ways to reward people for holding like my art and my NFTs, because like that's so key. Like they're supporting me as an artist and an individual to continue doing what I'm doing, and so like I can't even express what that means, and like I want to find new ways to like help support them. And like originally at this point in time, like if my contract hadn't gone sideways and we hadn't ended up with 3 contracts in the end, I was just gonna go straight into like, okay, I'm gonna make an airdrop for everyone, and like, okay, you're holding a pop pussy, you get an airdrop. And obviously I've had to like pop that on the back burner because I got to work on a collection of 375. But I still love that kind of like inspiration of like supporting people. I'm sure that made sense. But
yeah, I love it. It's amazing. I think you've like so many artists, you find yourself just like neck deep in support where you used to be in a field and of abandonment. And now that you're neck deep in support, it's like like so many artists, it's just the most important thing is trying to give back to these people who are basically making this life possible for you. So I love your story. I'm obsessed with this. It almost sounds like it just everything has been kind of playing out like chapters in a juicy book, and it's like it's led you to this moment, which kind of feels like just the beginning for you. So I'm personally super excited for you, Cinn. It's amazing to hear your story and just know a bit more about you as an artist. So thank you so much for your time.
No, thank you for having me, and yeah, thank you.
No worries. We'll stick around because, like I said, we'll get through the rest of the artists, and then I kind of just want to like open up the floor and we can discuss NFTs and art all together.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'll see you.
Wicked. Keep it lunatic. Well, first of all, sorry, Blackcatdead. He's probably very tired, but hello, my man. Good morning. He's like wiping his eyes and brushing his teeth right now, I think. Hello, man.
Hello.
We'll get to you in a moment, my brother. We're going to move on to Keep It Lunatic now. Keep It Lunatic, how are you, brother? Getting his coffee ready, I think. I'm going to throw myself into your intro, brother. Keep It Lunatic is mainly a digital artist. He's been releasing art on the Fantom network. He has a long history and extensive background working in streetwear and clothing world. So he sent me a lot of awesome images that I'd like to share with everybody of his kind of his mix into the music scene and the graphic design kind of wearable art scene. he says he draws his art from the real world. He hasn't done any paintings for some years, but he kind of describes his style like comic book, street, gothic art, kind of mashed together. He likes to kind of own like a signature style, so he's been he's been busy in this style for much longer, predating the NFT scene. He likes to create epic pieces that have a larger than life presence. He's all about high contrast, so deep blacks and rich colours. The name of the project he's working on at the moment, or on Fantom, he has a project called Ghost Reapers, which is a one-of-one Genesis collection. They also serve as like an access pass to his kind of most valuable NFTs. He has another project called The Asylum. It's a collection again of original one-of-ones. He says generally his most ambitious work, and then his all-original characters, The Evil Twins, which is a collection of tribute pieces to artists and collaborations. Again, all one-of-ones. Another collection he's got is The Bit Reapers, and this is a collection of pixel art Reapers based on his original Ghost Reaper collection. And other kind of pop culture influences. There'll be 50 to 100 pieces in the collection, so I think this is the only one that's not like that's a one-of-one. And then The Bad Guys Never Die. This guy is very, very busy. I'm reading all this stuff being like, holy shit. And it's his first generative collection, but that's currently in development, so that's what he's working on at the moment. In terms of dates for these projects, Bad Guys Never Die, it's coming out in June, and it will be a partnership with Toonheads. There'll be around 500 pieces available. So it's based on classic horror movie villains, showcasing in unique ways, kind of a unique generative Bit Reapers. There is currently pieces being auctioned through PaintSwap right now, so that's kind of gimmicks. My mic is fucked, but for the purpose of the recording, it's recording my voice nice and clean, so I'm actually the only person who sounds clean. For you guys, I just sound like a devil, and I apologize. I'm not like this. I'm actually a nice person. But yeah, without further ado, I love saying that. Keep it lunatic. Please tell us all about your journey through the music scene, the street art and wearable scene, your introduction as this as the artist you are, where you've kind of come from, and how the fuck you ended up here at our wonderful NFT scene that we share. I'm hoping you understood that. Can we hear him? We'll just give you a moment to pop down. Or pop out if you want. Oh. Yeah, no, we can't hear you. But yeah, he'll come back. Keep It Lunatics actually sent me a bunch of really good images, both of himself and all of the work he did.
Hey, can you now?
Yeah, brother, that's it. So did you catch my question? Do you want me to repeat that question?
Oh, yeah, no, I heard everything, and I started talking, and then I saw Cinn type, oh no. I was like, oh shit. No, thank you for having me. Thank you for that awesome introduction, and for, I just want to say thank you to Cinn for sharing her story. Mm-hmm. A lot of what she had to say resonated with me. And, you know, although I worked in a different industry, you know, there were some things that we've all kind of had this unique journey into this space. I think for the most part, nobody's had a straight line, and if you did, it's probably not been a straight line since you got here, because this is a whole new universe that is being developed here. But how I got started, I've been an artist my entire life. I grew up drawing. It's always part of me. I was that kind of creative guy, growing up in my teenage years. And but I always kind of kept things in the world of music with my art. And I did dabble a bit in music when I was late teenager, early 20s. I thought I was going to be like the next RZA from Wu-Tang, and I made beats and did all that stuff. And I'm into all sorts of types of different music. I just, I'm a mood listener. And anyways, long story short, I just started to look for other ways to get into like a creative release and to express my hobbies and stuff like that. So I started messing around with clothing. So I'd go to like thrift stores and buy up a bunch of crazy stuff. And I got somebody to teach me how to sew on a sewing machine. And so I was at school at Michigan State University here, which I'm based out of Michigan in the United States. And so if you hear this like nasal voice and stuff, you just think Eminem, like right down the road from that whole thing. So you get it like this Midwestern accent that I have. Anyways, it's just one of those things that just manifests, and I became kind of known as like the clothing guy, like chop stuff up. And at a certain point, I'd go out and people would say, "Oh, where'd you get that from?" And I'd be like, "Oh, I made it." And they're like, "Oh, really? I'll pay you for it. I'll pay something for you. You want to make me something?" And eventually it kind of came to a point where I'm like, well, maybe I should make this into a brand, start doing something with it. And so it became accidentally this thing that just took over the rest of my life for the next 15 years, basically. And so I started a line called Unlocal for my first one. And my whole emphasis was going to work with musicians. So I happened to be living in Chicago at the time, and there's a big kind of DJ electronic music scene in Chicago. It's like the home of house music and all that stuff. So it wasn't exactly my scene, but I had a lot of friends that DJed and stuff, and that's where the energy was. So I just started, working with people through that world and getting my name out there. And, fast forward a little bit here, but basically ended up working on my latest line is where my name comes from. In the like around 2014, 2015, I started a line called Lovers Are Lunatics with Jacoby Shaddix from Papa Roach, which is a huge opportunity. And we wrote it. So the rails came off, and we had some good years in the beginning, and, it was all e-commerce. And through the, I kind of had already established a little bit of a fan base for my stuff that I did, but this kind of took me into a new arena. And, I was able to, we're selling stuff all over the world, and, it was good times, but it was a bootstrapped business. And at the end of the day, it was a super small business. And, I busted my ass on it, but I made all the artwork, and I learned a lot throughout the process, just working in e-commerce. And, so that's where I cut my teeth. And, so, I got to do a lot of cool things. I'm not, a famous individual or anything like that, but I got to be on the scene in that world and meet a lot of cool people and work on projects and do some merch designs and stuff. So everything I did was based around the clothing world, but I always still had a love for doing artwork. There just wasn't really a reason to do it, like I started doing it again with the NFTs. So I got off the clothing thing 2.5 years ago. I've been doing it since I was like 18, 19 years old. I was ready to move on. A lot of good years, a lot of really bad years, being a entrepreneur. And my wife can contest to that, right? So it was time to kind of step back and maybe just figure out what the next chapter was going to be. And, I've got a marketing background, a branding background. So I've been working in that world independently with some clients and stuff. And getting to the NFT thing, basically, I just hopped in tried to learn a little bit about what was going on, trying to take a little bit of extra money that I had and maybe turn it into something else. And, when the market took a crash in December, which seems now like the glory days compared to what we're dealing with today. But I was like, well, what do people do with this, when things get slow? And so I started watching some YouTube videos about DeFi. And anyways, I started watching things about like Tomb and these other, kind of things around Fantom. And I was like, what is this Fantom thing I keep seeing? Why is everything like cool and spooky? And the branding of the world started piquing my interest, because I'm like, well, this is kind of like my stuff. And I started following some accounts on Twitter, and I just think I accidentally stepped into seeing some NFT artists. It must have cross-pollinated the algorithm or something. And, obviously knew what NFTs were, but I didn't have anybody in my orbit that was doing anything with them. And didn't know there was kind of these cool underground scenes taking place outside of Ethereum. I knew, obviously that things were happening on Solana and stuff like that, but I didn't know there was this kind of cool one-of-one art that was taking place. And, I just saw a lot of stuff that to me just looked like carbon copy bullshit. No offense to anybody else's stuff that's out there on some of those bigger chains and stuff, but I was like, this is a joke, right? So once I saw that, I was like, well, this is something. And that was probably maybe 3 months ago at most. Yeah, about 3 months ago, probably. I haven't cared one bit about DeFi or any of this other nonsense. Not really my kind of cup of tea anyways, since I discovered NFTs. I just think the freedom of the artwork and what can be done in this space, and being able to develop a continuation of kind of what I did do, and bring it into a whole new package, is what's got me so fired up. So the name Keep It Lunatic comes from my days with the clothing line Lovers Are Lunatics. And the name I always thought was pretty special because in Latin there's only a one vowel difference between the word lovers and the word lunatics. So it's a mentes suta mentes, or, I don't know if I'm getting the exact pronunciation correct, but I was like, well, that's interesting. At some point when they were developing that language, there must have been a intentionality behind that, right? So I just thought it was very representational to, like, in order to truly love something, you got to be a little bit crazy about it. And you got to be that passionate about it. So that's really what that resonated with me, and that's kind of how I operate with anything that I do. I get really into it. I get really fired up on it. So when it came to like, well, what am I gonna give myself one of these cool crypto names and stuff like that? I had a phrase, obviously, that Keep It Lunatic. I think I had made my Twitter account that a while ago, and I just was like, well, maybe I'll use that. And the acronym is KILL, which is kind of aggressive, but at the same time, I was like, well, that's something, and this fits with what I'm already kind of was doing. So what's wrong with that? And there you have it. But yeah, sorry, it's hard when I'm just chatting into the void and don't know.
No, dude, it's
to pop in, and
it's perfect, man. Like, it's as you find assimilations with Cinn, I find assimilations so much with what you're saying. Like, I've come up from a very similar journey. Just being involved with bands and branding and album artwork and all the rest of it. Yeah,
I was gonna talk. I figured you would have seen that you obviously are a musician and stuff like that. So I was like, that probably will come up and have some parallels with you. And I love music. Like, it's such a big part of my life. I've tried to teach myself the guitar or things like that. I'm very ambidextrous, so I never could figure out if I was right or left-handed. But I do like making beats and things like that. Although I'd love to be, a rock and roller and play the guitar and all that stuff. I don't have a particularly good singing voice, and I can't play the guitar all that good, so that's about the best thing that I can do. But yeah, there's a real connectivity with music and what I create as far as how I get inspired more so than anything. Maybe it doesn't translate into the artwork per se, but it's definitely the thing that captures the energy for me when I'm working on something.
I love it.
And so, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Cinn's actually beat me to it. I was going to say you've got this beautiful love, or this deep love for music. Is there an intention for you to integrate your beat making or your love for soundscape?
Maybe, there's like these different chapters of my life, and what I thought was always kind of interesting with some of the heavy hitters in the scene is they kind of, like I was talking with teens a couple weeks ago, and I was just when I was first starting to kind of make some noise in the scene, and he was saying good for you and all that stuff, and I said what's crazy is that I feel like I've been working, he said this to me first, and I said the same thing to my brother a couple weeks ago. He said, I feel like I've been working towards this moment for like a decade, right? Like building up these unique set of skills to be here right at this exact moment when art is on a global scene in a global connectivity way online, and there's an appreciation for it. And, there's a place to have a stage to get on and do that and just, showcase your craft. And I said the same thing. I'm like, it's taking all those things from my background in some way, shape, or form and bringing them to a new arena. So there's definitely something around the clothing side of things, bringing some of the physical stuff into the NFTs, like comboing it. And so I see this, I want to create a connective thread between some of the stuff that takes place in the physical world still, Web 2, and do the Web 3 stuff. As far as music stuff, yeah, man, I just got to get the technology incorporated into it and get with the right development team to figure out if there's a way to, what's the best, coolest, uniquest way to utilize it. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that are doing cool things. So, if there's something that I can do that's unique and different, great. But, I'm not too involved in like making music anymore. I might get on and use the drum machine and stuff like that for a bit just for fun, but it's definitely the last thing I would go to right now, just because it's not something I'm super great at, but like I like doing it.
But at the same time, as you said, this is like after a decade of everything you've gone through, this feels like the beginning, right? Like you're at the beginning. Like this is where everything's led to this point. So where it can go it's just so open.
Yeah, there's a filtration almost that takes place where it's like removing, especially being able to step away for a couple years, which I needed something again. I have this kind of natural creative itch that needs to be scratched, right? And I'm still an entrepreneur. I have my own consulting business where I work with just a handful of clients and stuff, and I'm working for them, but I still set my own kind of rules and how I work with people and things. But, it's not the type of creative work that I really enjoy. I like helping businesses. I have a mind for being an entrepreneur and stuff, but at the end of the day, it's not this kind of stuff that I'm doing here. So, I would love for just to scale back a little bit of that other stuff and focus more on this. Right now, I'm, riding the rails, burning the candle on both ends right now. But there's worlds that I want to build, and my love for art is even stronger for my love of creating brands and products and getting that kind of excitement from people about the product, that you're bringing to it. Like there's something more to it than just the thing that it is, and creating value around that. Community value, essentially. I mean, like with the rock scene, it's that thing of being able to go and bump into somebody you don't know, and they've got like, a shirt on that, or, they got a tattoo of it or something. It's like the stories that I heard from people meeting each other and becoming friends through the clothing line. And we're able to talk to people at concerts that maybe they wouldn't have talked to before because they could talk about the clothing line as an introduction. Just that kind of cool shit was like, that's so amazing.
Yeah, man. And like the hardcore scene, especially, you know, at its core is loyalty. You know, we've got some friends who have been basically bashing their head against a musical wall for as long as we have, but their following is so much larger because they're in the hardcore scene. Like, and there's an identity attached to the hardcore scene, like where you do wear the band t-shirts. Like the music, I think, over any other genre influences so many other aspects of your life in hardcore, right? Like what you dress, how you dress, like what you think sometimes, you know, whether you bathe in existentialism or something, like, you know.
Yeah, man. There's an identity that's there that people are proud to showcase through how they, you know, dress, what they wear, what specifically they're, you know, putting on as their identity pieces, so to speak. They want to send that message, you know, in a way that's direct, so it's understood. And yeah, no, it's really interesting. So where it's going, man, I mean, this is all moving so quickly in such a great way. I am super excited about the freedom aspect, like Cinn talked about, of just, there's no limitations on it. With the clothing thing, you still have to operate within like what's actually possible on a garment or an accessory. You know, there's limitations of screen printing, there's limitations in the cut and sew stuff. Like, in this course, you still have to, at the end of the day, be a little bit, you know, although I pretty much did whatever the fuck I wanted to do. You know, there are certain times where you got to put things out that you know are going to be sellers, let's say. Especially, you know, when it's like season after season, you got to get the excitement level going again. And that's something that it's almost just ingrained inside of me. So when it comes to like these collections and doing these releases and stuff, I have like a fucking bakery book of all the stuff that I've built up for the last 15 years of like how to get people hyped up about things. And it's not, you know, anything other than just, it's proven just, you know, to create communities and what gets people excited and engaged. And I couldn't even tell anybody what it is. It's just inside of me, like to do that. And I love it. And the people that have interacted with me online, like I want them to benefit from this as much as I am, if I can make that possible. And, you know, it is not about me, it's about we and us. And although I'm a one-person show at this moment, like in my own little thing, I definitely want to collaborate with people. I'm super interested in doing and helping with building the infrastructure that surrounds this NFT community. And like, how do we get more people involved? Like, I do not want to just sit back and wait. Like, let's be proactive. I know it's something you guys have spent a lot of time thinking about and have made serious moves to make that happen. Bridging things across and opening up doors between the communities. And I want to be a part of that too. And that's my kind of long-term thought process. Is the art is fantastic. I could do that all day. But the challenging thing, I think, is how to help people in this space long-term make this just really give it some legs, basically. I do not want to see this be a flash in the pan situation.
Yeah, I completely agree, man. But I think you're doing everything like all other artists. We're doing everything we can by just. I think some of the best inspiration an artist can do is just by doing themselves so well. It that kind of indirect inspiration is palpable, I think. Just before, I was just going to say, like, just before we move on, I really, really want to know a little bit more about your process. And, like, I want to know whether you have sketchbooks filled to the 9. I want to know when you come to a piece or a concept, do you start with lead pencil and like, how do you work? Where does it begin?
Yeah. So before I got an iPad Pro with Procreate on it, which has been a game changer for me. I would probably sketch something out on paper, get a framework for something, and then, do a snap of it, bring it into Illustrator, maybe vectorize it, and then start to layer on it. And I have a graphics tablet that I was using prior to Procreate, and that worked fine. It's a lugging that thing around. I mean, got the laptop, then I got to take the graphics tablet. My laptop is like super powered, so battery life, it sucks. So maybe we'll get like 30 minutes if I unplug it. It's just a chore to like, be comfortable in the space, or like if my daughter wants to like watch a movie and I can be like half in on it, she's 8, and I can post up anywhere with the iPad. I even took it to her softball practice the other day, and like in between stuff, like I was, working on something. That freedom is really helpful for me. I need that. So process wise, I can do some stuff and I do some stuff on paper, but right now at the level of sensitivity and great things you can do with the Apple Pencil, it's kind of changing my process a little bit. Like I can just start in there. I do still bring things into Photoshop because I'm super comfortable in that, and it's got some tools that Procreate doesn't have. So I might start in Procreate, and then because you can export as a PSD file, I'll bring it into Photoshop. And eventually it gets back to the laptop because the Photoshop that's for iPad doesn't have all the tools in it either. So it's like takes a 3 journey. And then sometimes I go back to Procreate at the very end for some final touches, because that's got some brushes and some little things in it that nothing else has. So when I'm done with my process, then I use it to like do some final little things. So I might go through 4 different things by the time I get done. And then you see some of the stuff, if you got to really zoom in on it, especially like that witch one that's right there, like the eyes and things like that. You mentioned oil paints earlier. When I was younger, I did like doing oil painting because there was this kind of fluidity that you could create with the colors and kind of this blending that was really hard to do, or at least for me, with acrylics. And I always enjoyed that process. And I don't have a full plan when I go in to do something. So I end up having to smudge things around quite a bit. Some people are really good at, like, they've got their whole sketch and it's just like done, and they're going in and they're just inking it and painting it. Like, that is not me. Like, I'll have like a very basic structure, and then I just go to town, and then I might go through 4 different arrangements of a piece before it becomes what it's supposed to be. Like, I've got drafts on some of these things that look nothing like how it finished, Oh,
I know, man.
Oh,
I love oil paints for that reason. It's such a challenge, but it's so fucking expressive. Like, you just have to trust in yourself and just go for it.
Yeah, well, and then you're not locked in on anything either, right? You can make some changes if you decide to, like, you know what? I really wanted to do, now that I've gotten this far, I stepped into something that I didn't expect, and I can go back and make some of those adjustments. Again, I had no, because I was just doing what I was doing before, and the clothing thing was my world. I had no reason to sit down and do this. And before I started doing some of the stuff, I hadn't probably sat down that intensely and worked on a piece of artwork for that long in years. It just wasn't part of my process anymore. But I knew I had it in there. Honestly, I kind of shocked myself. I'll be honest with you. I was like, this is the best shit I've ever done, and I haven't drawn in like 3 years maybe.
It's incredible, man. I'm so stoked for you, dude. Like, it sounds like you've gotten this power and you have this support behind you, and your whole, like, I don't give a fuck, I'm gonna do what I want. That's probably the most common thing I hear from artists doing this podcast. And to be honest, it's like the best thing to hear in the world, because it's like, the artists from the old world, I like to call it. It's just they're so caught up in like, what do I do? What's gonna get me likes? What's gonna get me an audience? Like, they're constantly trying to think about how they need to adapt, but it's literally the complete opposite here in this space, which I think is just it's the most exciting thing about it all, you know?
Yeah, and I'll just leave you with this because it's music related as well. I have all my analogies come from music, for the most part. Sometimes movies, but you know what? And you know this as a music fan. Who are the best, greatest artists in any genre who's lasted the longest? And it's anybody who's really stuck to their shit and not changed their formula. And maybe it wasn't super great out the gate, or maybe it was. But you know what? They stuck with it. They didn't trend chase. They didn't care about any of that stuff. And now those are hailed as the greatest ones. Those are the ones making it, you know, into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and all that stuff. Like, anybody that's trend chasing, like, my advice to them is get off of that and do not. You can do that, but your longevity arc is going to shrink quickly. You know, all my favorite, and I'm not a music snob or anything, all my favorite groups, though, are the ones I look at, like Wu-Tang Clan, or like Rage Against the Machine, or like Public Enemy, like NoFX. Like, any of these people that have just stuck to their shit have found their fan base, and Wu-Tang Clan's never had a radio record, but they're in this like super regenesis, era in the last 5 years. Like, they're like the biggest thing ever in hip hop, and that symbol is universal. Like, that was achieved from just doing exactly what they wanted to do. And so the point is, like, you can do this. Anybody who thinks they have to sell out or try to make some, derivative of a thing that already exists and stuff, like, that's horseshit. Like, there's so many examples of people that have done exactly what they wanted to do and have been extremely successful. And I'll beg to say even more successful is the thing.
For sure.
It's like the Ed Hardy, or like the Affliction kind of thing. Like, it's, man, you want to be that? Well, good. You will be gone as soon as they are. Probably before then. Like, never try to copy anybody else's stuff. It's the worst path forward, I think.
I fully agree with what you're saying. However, I get it. Like, it's, and I'll speak from experience. Like, our band has like come up 14 years this year. And like, we got 150 people who listen to us each month on Spotify. Like, it's fucking nothing, right? And I've seen members of my band come and go and leave, and the band has actually been destroyed at one point. And like I'm saying that I get it. Like, the pressures of the world and the pressures of sustainability are fucking real. And like,
for sure.
Yeah, and like, as much as I like, I promote the exact same thing, and I would love you to take a moment to listen to our band, because I feel like you'd fucking love it. It's exactly what you're talking about. But yeah, the realities of that, because a band, I don't want to digress too much, but a band is a collection of people. And those people's lives are all changing at completely different times and paces, and people are studying medicine, and like, it's a passion for people or whatever. And like, just trying to just keep it going, it becomes like such a real grind. And yeah, those bands that don't survive, it sucks, but like, I just, and also those bands that end up bending and morphing and changing, whilst I don't agree with it, I totally get it, I've
got friends that are definitely on they've been doing it, and they just, things haven't fully materialized for them, but they still keep trudging on, and I got nothing but love for that. And I've seen the people that are successful with inner turmoil like you couldn't even fucking believe. Like, they can't even see the forest for the trees when they're in the moment of, like, because the bands are difficult because there's a lot of different dynamics in it, especially as you get older, right? And there's a lot more at stake. You can't just, especially you get married, you have kids, any of that stuff comes into play. Like, it's a totally different thing. Like I'm a one person, operation, so it's like who am I battling with other than myself at this point? But with a band, it's a lot to deal with, and I have nothing but super respect for anybody that's been in that. But I guess what you're saying and what I agree with completely, just because you stick with your guns doesn't mean that's guaranteed success by any means, and nothing really is, right? And sometimes it's just fucking luck, and just right timing. But keep doing something, right? Maybe that leads to some of the ventures that you've branched off into that you're doing right now, right? And because you stuck with that allowed this to still be, a thing in another avenue to go down. And, I think that's what's important, is never kind of giving up in some way, but also staying open to other things that might be out there.
Absolutely. I always say, like, you can sell your soul, but don't sell your heart, Don't sell your heart. Like, keep some part of your heart to yourself. Don't give it all to the fucking world that wants to demand it and fucking kick you around when you're down. Dude, thank you so much, man. I love hearing you speak. You've got so much passion behind your words. It's just brutally inspiring. You're a fucking legend, man. Thank you so much for your time.
That's such a high praise, man. Thank you so much. Thank you for everything you're doing and for putting on stuff like this. This is what, makes this community great. So anytime you need anything, or anybody out there, that listens to this later on or is here right now, reach out to me. I'm always game to help, participate, collaborate, whatever.
It's so beautiful, man. Thanks so much for your time again. Stick around, because obviously there's a lot more to talk about.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
Okay, guys, we're going to move over to Indonesia. We have Blackcatdead here. Brother, hello. How are you? Are you not too tired?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah. I'm just going to pump the volume up on you a little bit. Because you seem a little bit quiet, but I can hear you perfect. Maybe anyone in the audience, just pump his volume up and it should be fine. I'm going to give you a bit of an intro, and then we'll get straight into it. So I'll just drop a few links for everybody here first. I want to make sure that if you are in the audience and stuff, do your job, support and follow everybody that's here talking to you this morning. Or tonight, depending on where you are. So Blackcatdead, he uses, again, the trifecta, Procreate, to create his artwork. His mediums and his genre is kind of the 2D illustration and digital art. He loves pop culture, monster robot, kind of cyberpunk, steampunk references. This is the kind of genre that he plays in. So the name of his projects that he's currently working on are Muka UFO and Cyber Fantomic. He's been working with the Potluck crew, and I know Voodoo is a massive supporter of the Indo art scene. So they've kind of formed a recent relationship. So Blackcatdead, please tell us all who are very unfamiliar or mildly unfamiliar with the Indonesian art scene. We'd love to know about your journey as an artist, where you began, when you first started drawing, and maybe just your journey from then until now, your introduction into the NFT scene. Tell us your story.
Okay, hello, I'm Blackcatdead. I start to drawing is my first love of illustration is come from comic book. So I start my journey as a comic artist, but because my drawing is not so good, in comic scene, so I started as a writer in a comics. I write some kind of indie superhero in Indonesia comic book. And,
If you can try, sorry, bro. If you can try.
Jamin in advertising industry. I'm creating some TV commercial and anything about marketing stuff for a brand. So I start NFT is 2 years ago. I jump in NFT in Tezos blockchain with Mickey UFO that I draw 101 daily. Then after Tezos, I tried to Ethereum blockchain, and now I'm in Fantom with Mickey UFO and Cyber Fantom. Helping by potluck protocol teams, just like Kudu and his friend. I hope my voice is clear and loud.
Amazing. So you began or you started on Tezos, and recently you've come kind of you're now on both. You've come over to Fantom.
Yeah, true.
Amazing. I would love to know a little bit about Meta Rupa and the Indonesian NFT community. Can you talk to us about that?
I'm sorry, your voice is kind of off.
Meta, yeah, the Meta, Meta Rupa and the Indonesian NFT community. Can you talk about that community?
Oh yeah, Meta Rupa is a community that I built with my friends. Last year, first Meta Rupa is a group of Indonesian artists in NFT that come together to making offline exhibition in Jakarta, and kind of movement to introduce NFT to the Indonesian artists to the world. And so, a couple of weeks ago, we just celebrate our anniversary for just only 1 year. And if I can claim that Meta Rupa is the making first online offline exhibition in Southeast Asia.
And are you exhibiting at this offline exhibition?
Yeah, offline exhibition in some gallery in Jakarta. Offline gallery.
Amazing. So this means that you work in physicals as well as digitals, or are you just going to be printing your digital? Like
it's digital. So we exhibit digital art that sold as NFT in the physical galleries.
Amazing. So can you talk about, do you have plans to go back to comic books and like where you began?
I'm sorry. Your voice is kind of off and on.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. So, do you have plans to go back to your comic book art?
Yeah. I always love comic book as a medium to tell a story and bring the action scene and bring complicated character into a book. But unfortunately, as an industry in Indonesia itself, the comic book is not so good, and the print business is also right now is not so good. But I always try to come back to bring another story every year. So I guess I every year I try to making a comic book.
So, okay, cool. So you never stopped making comic books. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny you say the comic book scene in Indonesia isn't good, but from what I know, the comic book scene across the world is actually shit and very hard to get into. I have met another artist on here who worked for Marvel and basically created his own comic, and they promised him stuff and never ever gave it to him. So don't feel alone. I think comic books in general are very hard, you know?
Yeah. In Indonesia, if you pure totally selling in comic, it will don't work here. So everyone who still in this comic book industry in Indonesia is usually they develop the comic as an intellectual properties character. So they actually sell the character, not the comic. So the comic they use as a marketing tool to share to tell the audience to tell the story of the character to the audience.
So it's used as like additional or extra content for a character or a design. Okay.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. So how young were you when you first began drawing?
I'm sorry, can you repeat?
How young were you when you first began drawing and playing around and how early in your life did you know that you wanted to be an artist?
I guess since I'm little kid, I always love drawing. As a kid, I developed visually, not verbally. So I first communicate with people is through drawing than speaking. So yeah, I love drawing since little kid. And then I met a comic book, and then I met illustration as a medium to also to tell our story. And then I met advertising, so I can I learned to how to tell a story as to tell a story through visual, and I can make it as a marketing tools.
Beautiful.
Yes. Yeah.
I have posted some of your videos. Can you talk to us about your animation? So I assume that you've created these. Can you talk about, you love, I guess you love animation because it's like bringing your stories to life, or your comic books to life, or something. Yes.
Yes. This animation is my experiment. So I always try new medium for me, like comic, illustration, and animation. So in this animation, the first animation that I create is for a message to people in pandemic. So they should be careful with take care of themselves, take care of themselves, also take care of the people. So I guess that is the story for the first video that you shared. And for the second video that you share is a kind of experiment. It's like audio drama, but with visual that, and it put in radio and also put in Instagram as we call it. I forgot what we call it. Is I guess is Instagram story or something before Instagram story. I forgot. Yeah, the character is Nesia is for a president campaign. So about Nesia that confused what she chose for the best candidate in presidential campaign in Indonesia. So it's kind of politics.
And do you create these animations all on your own?
Yeah. I'm getting animation, but because I'm not patient with the process, so so it takes so long with creating animation.
Yes, animation is intense. I love that you shared with us that animation, because I have so much respect for people who have the patience and the time for it. I just want to know a little bit more. I'm so fascinated about this Indonesian art scene. How many artists in Jakarta over the years have you connected with, and how many people are involved in this scene?
Never counting it, but I guess it's a lot. Because art is what happened in Jakarta is always a way for us as citizens to express ourselves or to tell our story in the street as a product. So there is a lot of artists in Jakarta. I never found it also because every day you always see new artists with the great art pop up.
And is there, because it seems like quite a large scene, is there a lot of support for that scene, or are you all together? Because
yeah. We support each other and we always sometimes we gathering with other community and other community from one community to another art community. So we gathering and share what we have, share our story, share what happened in the industry. So yeah, we kind of support each other because if we don't support each other, the other will not support us as an artist. As a kid, we taught by our parents that become an artist is not a promising
career.
Promising career for us. We always tell our parents, if you want to be artist, you will gonna be poor.
Yeah.
If you want to painter, you will gonna be poor. If you want to be illustrator, you will gonna be poor. You should become a doctor, an accountant, and a banker, or something else, except the way. So yeah, I guess also to be an artist, I guess a lot of people, they will not believe that we can survive in economy when we become an artist.
Even though you grew up in a completely different country, my parents told me the exact same thing, so don't worry. I think all across the world, that's what your parents, that's what, they let me do what I want. They said go for it, but they were like, you're probably going to be poor. But look at you now, exactly. Cupid Lunatic says, you're proving them wrong, yeah? And your parents, are they surprised? They become your biggest fans now?
Excuse me?
Your parents.
The last.
Yeah.
Sorry, but my parent is not exist no more. So they don't watch me. As an artist, but yeah, I guess they're proud for me, I guess.
I think there will be a time, Blackcatdead, where your parents will not be able to ignore what you have done. I truly believe you're on your way to true success, to be whatever you want. So that's very that's very exciting, man. Can we talk about Mook UFO, it's minting every day. And the current projects that you have are Cyber Fantomic with Potluck Protocol. Can you just tell us about those two collections or those two projects?
I'm sorry, I'm not good in English, and your voice is kind of on off again.
Yeah, I am so sorry. So, Muka UFO and Cyber Fantomic. Can you tell us about these two collections?
Cyber Fantomic is actually True Voodoo is come to me and interesting about the art that I'm doing. So he say that, hey, you should making a generative art with us. And I never do generative art before. So because I think generative art is should do extra work in the future, and I don't have energy, and I don't have the team for doing generative art. So when True Voodoo come to me and he say that, so I guess I say I'm okay because I'm so curious what will happen when I'm making a generative art. So I say yes to Voodoo, to protocol team, and so and the concept is I'm making in the future there's when human become cybernetic life form. So yeah, I'm making a, so I call it cyber fantomic because it's in Fantom. And it's 888 NFT, and it's already sold out in Fantom, but there is still more in Avax in Empire Marketplace is still 100 is left in Avax.
Amazing. Big props, I think, needs to go to True Voodoo. I very much respect the way he finds something, he likes something, and then he backs you and supports you and brings you to a place that you haven't been before. So I'm so happy that True Voodoo found you, because if True Voodoo didn't find you, I probably wouldn't have. So Blackcatdead, thank you so much, man. And again, sorry for my shitty Beastie Boys voice.
It's okay. Your voice is kind of awesome.
Okay.
It's like a what effect in my ear. Awesome.
Thanks, man. Thank you. So, guys, firstly, thank you so much. Keep It Lunatic's got a question here. He wants to know, where did the name come from? Blackcatdead. Where does that come from?
Blackcatdead is a joke in a local language. It's meaning something dirty, actually, in Japanese language. Yeah, I guess that is where it's come from, and I love the sound. Blackcatdead. and in English is mean Blackcatdead. So I love cat. I have 11 cats right now that I rescue from the street. Yeah.
I love it. So it's actually, I don't know what the actual English word for it is. There is one, but the phonetics, I think. So Blackcatdead is like a word from your language that you've turned into an English, I guess, direct phonetic translation.
Yeah.
Very clever. I love it. Amazing. All right, guys. First of all, thank you for new friendships, and thank you for being here, and thank you for you taking your time. This is just the best fucking thing in the world. So good to facilitate connections and facilitate friendships and voices here. So thank you for taking the time, guys. No worries. I want to talk about one or two topics now, and we'll move into like this little next part for the next 10 or 15 minutes. Feel free to chime in or talk at any point, but I want to talk about the bear market. I want to talk about the difference between people in finance and people in art. What in this climate, in this red candle climate that we're in, can we talk about how this doesn't, or how this does affect you, or what this means for you as a creative? I want to take this opportunity for it to be quite educative for other artists who listen in on this podcast. So tell us about like the things that surround us at the moment as creators. Anybody feel free. I guess I could. Yep. Go, Cinn.
I think I missed the question. Sorry, could you repeat it?
Just in this bear market that everybody talks about and everybody's bringing up and all this, and there's this red. Like, can we talk about like what that means to you as an artist, and whether it even means anything to you as an artist?
Yeah. To be honest, it kind of doesn't mean much. I didn't get into NFTs so much like through DeFi. Like, I'm still very novice at all that, and like it's always been very like the numbers on the screen don't feel real. So it's certainly fascinating to like watch what's happening and like almost like see like this collective energy that is like forming in like the digital space. And it's certainly like I've never really been around when there's been like a crash this radical before, and it's certainly like eye-opening and like interesting, but like I don't let it bring me down at all. I just keep going. Like like it's not even in my world picture. Like obviously because like I'm into my collection in FTM and Oath actually, so yay for Oath. But like obviously my net worth has gone down considerably, but like I'm riding my bags to the bottom. Like I'm here for the long term, and it was always about that for me. Like the short term gains are a little bit like whatever. Like I'm here long term, and like my long term picture doesn't include like freaking out because the market's crashing.
Love it.
Yeah, I can second that in some ways. I don't know what everybody else is doing and how they operate. My plan when I got started was I'm not reliant on the NFTs. I do have my own career still going on, although it's not nearly as fun. And I get super excited to get off of work and get my work done so I can do this stuff, which tells me where I need to be spending more of my energy. Because, my wife can see it, people around me see how fired up I am about it, and it's just too much fun. So it's exciting. But so what I was trying to do is stash up a little bit of, extra funds out of this and use it as kind of a seed investment to, have a buffer and spend less time doing my other thing and more time in this world. So I'm not holding really any at all of what I have pulled in Fantom-wise in Fantom. I'd like to be able to do that at some point. I am bullish on the ecosystem, and I think for sure this is the future, whether it's Fantom or another, I think there's room for a lot of blockchains to succeed, I guess, where I'm getting at. And there's no doubt in my mind that the market is going to turn around. Everyone knows where this is headed. It just sucks that it's here right now, that we're in this kind of like downturn. But, so it's definitely factored into my calculus a little bit. I got to be smart about how much I pull from my other world, pull away from my other world. So to me, it's just it's a little speed bump, so to speak. But being able to do this at any level is a gift that the universe has given us at this precise moment. I will say that the thing that gets me so pumped up is that never in the history of our lifetime, and maybe even prior to that, has artwork been appreciated and valued like it is right now by so many people who might not have ever looked at artwork this way. And I don't know how many, I'm sure the artists that are in the space get it. I don't know how many people understand that, because that's not a thing, especially for digital artists, graphic designers, stuff like that. You'd be lucky to sell something to like a stock photography website for pennies on the dollar. Amazing art. And this is the total paradigm shift that's here. So anything that's happening right now is just icing on any cake that can take place. And then, again, even for the collectors, who are finding ways to make money through this process and stuff. I think the money is just a byproduct, and it's not an ugly thing. People, I think, talk about it in a way that, like, I don't think it's being materialistic or anything like that, but it's part of, you should be compensated for what you do. I mean, that's just all there is to it. There's no shame in saying that. I don't think anybody's here just to make friends. And if you are, and that's great, I'm certainly doing that as well. And I'm loving that part of it. It's why I'm here. It's what stuck me in, and it's what's got me so excited about being here is the community. But it also is obviously exciting as an artist to be able to make a living off of this potentially, because that's what we've always wanted to do and have sought for. So, but I think it's definitely something to navigate through, no doubt.
I completely agree. I literally don't need to add anything because it's exactly what's on my mind. Blackcatdead. Is there anything you would like to kind of chime in on this particular topic?
Yeah. Being artist for me is mean that never stop struggling. So it's kind of fun to be an artist because you never stop to learn something. You always learn something new, gitu. And as an art is something beautiful that people can see, can feel, can love, and it's so amazing when you create art and people collected it as an art is to be a gift for people to connect and do a support system. Yeah. When government do war, art is making peace.
I love that.
Yeah, I guess that's...
Yeah, no, you're talking about something very real. You know, I've always had that question of like, where does my drive come from? You know, I've always had to ask that question very hard. Like I have this intense drive to create, and I have this immense like yearning to learn and to grow as an artist. But it never changed the idea that like where did that come from? And I think you kind of said it perfect, Blackcatdead. Like it's people, you know, and connection, and telling a story that's relative, or an idea that's relative. So I think if everything went to zero, it wouldn't matter, because people are still here, and as long as people are still here, art will still be made. No, that's beautiful. Thank you for such incredible answers, guys. The next thing I would like to ask and talk about is kind of your methods of struggle, whether that be what got you through your passions or your pursuits in the old world, but also very much still here. You know, what do you do for your mental health? What do you do for your time? What do you do for the pressure you put on yourself? It's a very real question, but I think it's important for other artists to hear other artists talk about this kind of stuff. So, what do you do to look after yourself as a person before an artist?
Good question. I like to surround myself with like things of beauty and comfort. Like you'll come into my home and you'll be like, "Ooh, this is really nice," and it feels like calming and soft, and it's like a place of comfort, and that is really important to me. It's important to build your environment around what you want to create and around what you plan on doing in that environment. And like environment has so much impact on like your mental health, your physical health, like all those things. So I'm all about creating an environment that is like optimal for me to want to be like successful, and me to like want to hit goals, and like an environment that I feel like I belong in, an environment that is like supportive for like me and my needs. And I always try and like cook nice things and like take time to like spend time in the gardening, like growing my own fruit and veggies, like going for walks, like doing yoga, just things that like help ground you back to like the earth, because that is so important. Getting sunlight, those key things are like so vital in like keeping your creative juices flowing and making sure that you're not becoming like stagnant or like stuck. And if you get like stuck on something, then I'll like jump to something else and like take a break and go do some weeding, or like something that'll help like change the flow of the energy of the day. And you know, the occasional toke of some of the ganja doesn't go too far, you know. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Beautiful. Keep it Lunatic, Blackcatdead. Please share with us your methods.
If you're speaking, yeah, I couldn't hear him again.
It's alright. I'll get him back up. 1 sec. Here he is.
It seems like if I go for no more than 5 minutes without saying anything, it just cuts me off.
Oh, I should have known that at the start. We should have just had you kind of like humming or singing maybe the whole time.
I don't know. Can you hear me now, though?
Yeah, we can. We absolutely can.
Okay. Well, I just love Cinn's world. I was living in it for a minute. I was like, wow, This sounds so peaceful and
Yeah, I was doing the same.
It's kind of the opposite of how I'm on the interview thing, remember? So they're not used to this. Like, who are you talking to? My family just walked in. No, but it's no, I definitely don't do those things. That's probably more of what I should be doing. I find if you get stuck, though, you definitely need to take a break. And if you're forcing something, it's definitely the time to stop. Because the energy's not right. I do enjoy getting out and like working out or something like that. Although sometimes I go, man, I don't really want to go. Every time I go, I come back, I've got a clear mind. Although admittedly, like I've been so invested into this to kind of ramp myself up that I've kind of slacked myself off a little bit on just taking care of myself on that front. So it's kind of catching up to me right now a little bit. I mean, just I feel it, right? Because I've not been spending as much time being as active. And drawing revolves around a lot of sitting. So it's something that it's been in my mind, like, okay, I've got to balance this out a little bit. But that's, you can burn out with doing stuff that you love too. It's possible. It's so, I think getting good sleep, I live by it. Anytime I feel like I'm approaching the hour of like, oh man, I'm going to only get like 4 or 5 hours of sleep, that's no dice for me. I think sleep is critical for the creative process to get that worked out into your brain. And so I always at least make sure that I'm getting good rest every night. And I don't smoke weed, but not to say that I haven't or I have anything against this. It's not my thing. So mainly just fueled by caffeine and music, and that sets the environment enough for me to get energized and fired up. But I've always had a self-driven kind of motivation and a self-competitiveness. I think it comes with being like a Virgo, people say sometimes, if you're into that stuff. So I am like constantly kind of battling myself in a way, but I also bring it back to music, like very much into hip-hop music and all that kind of stuff. Like, it's like I want to, more so than anything else, I want to put something out there and have people go, damn, that's fucking awesome. That kind of like you drop like a killer line or something like that at like a hip hop show and people are like, oh, like freaking out. That's the kind of reaction that I want to get, and that I live for around this stuff. So, that's more my drive than anything else. Dollars, whatever. Like, it's just getting some people excited about it and going, that's freaking sweet. Like, if I can get that, I'm super happy. And that's the stuff that just keeps me going.
I very much appreciate your deep honesty, and I think I'm very much more in your world, and I definitely agree. I think we both need to take a leaf out of Cinn's book, and just chill the fuck out every now and then, because I also work to complete burnout point. Like Delanglia or Alex can tell you this. Like I'm 110% until I'm 0, and like I've recently coming into my 30s, I'm like, fuck, like I really need to like maybe consider not doing that, because the burnouts get intense.
Yeah. No, I hear you, man. It can be, especially if you're out and you're being super social. Like my kind of raging days are pretty much past me at this point. I raged enough for 10 people when I was slightly younger and everything, and I'm definitely more settled out. Like, that energy is still with me, and I still like carry that as like my experiences to where I'm at, and I can keep that edge about me. But like, I very much live a very standardized life. Besides going and getting tattoos or something like that, it's about as extreme as my life gets at this point. But there's whatever you're into, like, you're going to bring that out in some way. And like now it makes complete sense, like why your art looks the way it looks and the palettes that you use. And it's a reaction that I get when I look at it, and as much as I like the cool dark stuff that I produce, I love looking at other people's stuff, and I see beauty in all of it. Like, it's not like when people are like, well, I just listened to this one thing, or I'm just into this one scene, and I'm like, yeah, how can you not like be interested in other things? Like, you don't have to just be into that. Like, you know, I look at your stuff and I'm like, that's freaking cool. Like, there's such, you know, great things about, and Blackcatdead, you're fucking amazing, dude. Like, your style is so interesting and fun and colorful, and like, I love all that too. Like, there's so many cool things that, you know, get produced, and I don't know, especially just knowing what it takes to create anything.
Dude,
right?
Yes.
It's kind of like,
you're so on point, man. And honestly, it's like why I asked this question, why I think it's so goddamn important, because what you said before about how like it's relative to your, like, how you approach life and how you wake up every morning and how you like you breathe and how you like how you exist, it totally absolutely comes through your artwork, in the most sometimes conscious, but most of the time in like the most subconscious way, and it's beautiful. You know, it really exposes so much about someone's art when you learn a little bit about who they are as a person. Blackcatdead, please tell us your methods of sanity.
Take care of myself, I guess. Try to be calm and clear mind. Keep learning and open-minded with something new. Yeah, I guess that's it. Just like in and Capital Lunatic say that you must take care of yourself and be creative every day.
So is it just like basically just good food, exercise, and time with yourself?
Yeah. I keep going every day, and also I enjoy the process in making art.
I love it. I think you're
that can be a release. That can be a release on itself, right? Mentally, for people, just that zoning out and creating art can be very therapeutic.
Absolutely. Like I was hanging out. Oh, you go.
And also become burnt out with the drawing. So when it come burnt out, you just step away a little bit and do it again when your mind is more clear.
Making art in different mind states. Yeah, I love it. I was about to say I was hanging out with Teens on Acid at his exhibition in Melbourne just the other week, and we went to the pub and we had a beer afterwards, and he he's my NFT dad, and he kind of very brutally and honestly just kind of looked at me in the eyes and was like, dude, like you know, I love the flamingos, I love everything you do and stuff, but I just can't wait to see, you know, just Freud and the art that just comes straight from your mind, that doesn't have a collection, it doesn't have a purpose, it doesn't have a concept. And it really made me think. I was like, fuck, dude, when was the last time I sat down and just created a piece of artwork from nothing, you know? And I did it when I came back. I just kind of sat down and, you know, this is what I used to do when I was young, right? Just like looking at the blank page, being like, I have no fucking idea what I want to do. And like that process of trying to draw something out of my mind, I hadn't done it in so long, but sitting with myself and doing that, I was like, holy shit, this is, I remember now what got me through my bullying and what got me through like all my turmoil and shit. Like it's this, like this is true. This is like the therapy inside of art. I love that you said that, Blackcatdead. Thank you so much for that. That's legit. Guys, I'm I'm going to bring this to a close. We've been hanging out for a little over 2 hours. First of all, thank you, Cinn and Keep It Lunatic, for holding down the fort while I figured out these fucking technical issues. I obviously didn't figure out all of them because I still sound like, the Beastie Boys. Because you can if you won't, you don't stop. You know what I mean? Sorry.
Sorry. That's okay. No, but I'm, as eager to talk to people in this space as anyone else, and so I relish the opportunity just to kind of like have an off-the-cuff conversation with someone, because I'm so intrigued, and this is so fun, like to get a little peek behind the curtain on other people's approaches to how they do what they do, because it's a super informative thing. Again, not to say we're special, unique, individuals. We're just, here we are talking to people from all across the world. I don't have anybody I can relate to on this in the in-person real world at this moment. Doesn't mean it won't ever be the case, but specifically this kind of unique place. So chatting on Twitter and making fun little comments in Discord and, stuff like that is phenomenal, but it also is really helpful just to kind of have like free-flowing conversation. And you had very good specific pointed questions that I thought were like, I haven't thought about things like that. Good thing to think about and to discuss. And it's very cool to hear from other people, like how they filter and process this. And Cinn, you've made me feel more relaxed just in your presence with the day and where things are going and all that.
Yeah.
So.
I'm so glad.
My wife would probably like me to go out and weed in the garden a little bit right now, although the sun's down.
Yeah, well, I think it's a good thing to do.
Yeah.
But something that came to mind when you were talking is that it is so interesting to hear other artists' approach to this, because like, there's no right way. Like there's
Right.
ways that'll get you there faster, but like everyone has their own path, their own direction, their own like style and choices that will find them success. And like nobody else can like tell you how to be successful. And I think the creators in this space that are people that have embraced themselves and embraced like the things that make them passionate. And like, yeah, it's so interesting to be able to speak to other creators and yeah, like you said, find new ways and discuss new things. It's really cool.
Definitely.
You literally explained the reason why I do this. it's actually for me. Like,
Yeah, right.
yeah.
Give me all of your wisdom.
Yeah, exactly.
That's kind of what I was feeling like at the cross-chain auction earlier when Voodoo and Tinfoil keep bidding on everything that's there. I'm like, you guys just set this up for yourself, right? So you can come in and get the scoops and get all the cool artists in one place. I was like, I see what you're doing. I like it. Very smart.
Yeah, exactly.
Bring them to you. Yeah, bring them to you. They'll give you everything you... No, I was just being funny. It's cool, man. Anybody that takes time to do this, it's like the YouTube heroes out in the world. I like, whoever took time to make that phenomenal tutorial that taught me that thing that one time. That's the world we live in, and there's other cool places like the things you're doing that someone will stumble across this and hopefully find something that helps carry them along in the journey. And anything I can do to pay it forward. I've been here for like a blink of an eye. And yet, I feel questions from people, and I can give them some answers, just like some people did when I first walked in, a couple months ago, when people were nice enough to not turn me away, even though I didn't have anything to showcase. I was just curious to like, okay, how do I do this? What's this?
Mm-hmm.
What do you use? Like,
Exactly.
And everybody's just been so approachable in that regard. And I would implore anybody who is maybe sitting on the sidelines and is being apprehensive about that, like, reach out to anyone in this community, and Teens is kind of like our, NFT collection celebrity right now or something. And he's just said today, and the thing, he's like, if anybody's in need and having any issues with what's going on right now, send me a message. I'm here to chat with you. And I was like, that's so fucking awesome that he said that. Like, what a great thing to say. Like, because, you know, we're all in various levels of this whole thing, but, like, anyone, like, a door is open, like, just to chat.
Mate,
And that's
he is
very helpful.
he is straight up the fucking man. Yeah, like I said, he's my NFT dad, and I'm pretty sure he's everyone's NFT's dad. He's the NFT dad. And even though he'd like,
he's like Rick Rubin, and he's gonna be like Rick Rubin at the end. Like he's gonna have a super long beard. He's gonna be chilling on the trailer.
Exactly,
you know,
exactly.
Curating things.
Yeah.
Like,
as much as he'd hate me calling him NFT dad, he fucking loves it. I know he loves it. He's like, yeah, I am NFT dad. That's who I am. You know. Blackcatdead, do you have anything else to add, my brother? He's just gifting hard. He's just just dropping gifs. Guys, thank you so much for taking your time to speak about and being so honest and giving us such great insight into who you are as people and what you do as artists. This all gets archived on YouTube, so please, you know, do whatever you want with it. It's yours, but it is archived there for exactly what Keep It Lunatic just said. It's there to help kind of onboard artists who don't know or who are finding it hard to, find their purpose or their worth, and you know these kind of things. Some artist takes 2 hours out of their day to have a listen to this. The whole intention is that, you know, hopefully that they're promoted to kind of take the dive and jump into the space as well, because we're all just people here, and we're all just learning and we're all growing. So yeah, thank you so much, guys, for taking the time. I just want to if there's any shilling or anything you want to kind of do or say at this moment, please take this last couple of minutes to just to shill some of the stuff you're doing, or maybe some upcoming collections, or maybe there's an active mint or something. If anyone wants to do that, go for it.
you go first. We're watching muted
right.
microphones.
I guess basically I'm working on one art pieces for Pop Pussies Pop Pop. There's only 375 of them. They are currently on NFT key, and they aren't revealed what the art is going to be yet, but they're going to be pretty special. They're going to be abstract depictions of what life might be like in the Pop Pussies universe. A bit more portraity, a bit different to anything else I'm doing. So if you're interested, that's something fun that I'm really excited about, that or the people that minted in the first half of the Pop Pussies mint will be able to get.
Amazing.
Cool. I'm not going to show a specific project. I wanted to say this earlier, but I forgot. I feel really good. Is it Pixaki? The Pixel software that you use, right?
Pixaki, yeah.
Cool. That's what I started to use, and I went through 15 of these stupid things, and spent a bunch of time trying to figure out which one, and I landed on that one. I was like, I think this is the one. I've had some success with it, and I'm glad to hear that you're using it as well, because it was kind of one of the last ones I honed in on. So if anybody's listening is looking for a good pixel art app on the iPad, and maybe it exists elsewhere, Pixaki, Pixaki. Save yourself some time. It's pretty awesome. And it does animation stuff too, which I haven't dabbed into yet, but I'm definitely getting excited about doing some of that as well. So there's my shill.
Incredible.
It's pretty cool.
And Blackcatdead, please take the opportunity, brother.
Yeah. Sorry, my earphone is a little bit, so I cannot hear you. It's feeling right you can check my project Info in Fantom in Opera House.
Sick. Like I said, for those listening, just scroll on up through the Final Export chat room. This is actually quite full, this channel. It's got, if you go all the way to the top, I think this week I've hit like 71 artists that we've had through this podcast, and they're all detailed in this chat, in that chat room, with all of their links, all of their artists. So if you're a real supporter, scroll up to the top, get through, and follow every single one of these, and check out the collections. It'll probably take you a solid day, but it's there for you to use and utilize as a collector, and as a supporter of these amazing artists. So yeah, guys, here we are at the end of the episode. Thank you so much. It's been Final Export episode 8 with Cinn, Blackcatdead, and Keep It Lunatic. Guys, thank you so much for your time. Please reach out when you've got new collections and when you've got new things happening or new artwork. After episode 20, which is only so we've got one more episode to go, and then each 10 episodes I like to do a one-on-one feature. I've got a very exciting artist coming for episode 20. But following these 20 episodes, I want to be kind of going back and catching up with a lot of the artists that, I talked to almost 5 months ago. So please keep in contact with me. Don't be a stranger. If there's anything new, stuff coming out, or anything that you kind of want to voice and talk about, we'll get you back on the show. We'll do what we do. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Pie Bear, Animal Z, Fantom Kong, Tosiko, Delanglio, a few of our other kind of regulars popped in and out. Thank you so much, everyone, for such a great episode, and your honesty.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. That was awesome fun.
Fuck yeah.
Thank you all.
Alright guys, no worries. Like I said, don't be a stranger. We'll talk soon. Keep the friendship alive, and keep creating in the bear. That's what we do. Yeah, thanks crew. Absolutely legendary. I think maybe Keep It Lunatic might try and pop back in. Let's see. I'm going to make sure that if he has something to say. He was just saying goodbye. Okay, no worries guys. Thanks so much. This is bi-weekly, so there won't be another episode next week. It'll be the week after that. So I think it's like the 25th or something like that. All right, thanks heaps, and we'll catch up soon. Cheers. Thanks for tuning in.